Hi, I'm Lori Koch, the Chief Executive Officer of Podna. You're watching Taking Stock.
Markets fighting their way back off of session lows here on this Monday, November 17th, the very first trading day of the week. It was unsure exactly what the tail of the tape would be as we did throughout the afternoon session, accelerate those losses into the close. But in the last half hour or so, it does appear as if we will bounce off of them. This for a huge week for earnings here on Wall Street ahead of the AI trade, as well as companies that we'll hear a lot more about the underlying health of the consumer. Alphabet shares are very much in focus, up 3% on the day. This after we learned this weekend that Berkshire Hathaway adding Alphabet to its portfolio, making Alphabet now the 10th most weighted name for Berkshire Hathaway's ongoing equity holding slate. Alphabet shares reaching a new all-time high today. Unfortunately, not a lot of other names, even the big tech names, can say much of the same. The scorecard here with about a minute or so left on Wall Street. NVIDIA shares down 2.7% today ahead of their earnings call Wednesday. We're also following Walmart shares up fractionally on the day ahead of their earnings call Thursday. The great Einstein of Wall Street, Peter Tuchman, he's on deck. He'll join us right after the bell to get his sense on the broader price action here on the show. And welcome to the show. You're watching Taking Stock. I'm your host, JD Durkin. Mere moments away, my friends, from the ringing of the one, the only iconic closing bell. The team from CN Rail here at the NYSE, here now to do the honors. And there you have it, folks. The team from CN Rails bringing about a close to today's action here on Wall Street Utilities, the only of the 11 sectors in positive territory. The other 10 of the 11 all down. Losses to the downside being led by tech, energy, and financials. Let's bring in Peter Tuchman, senior floor trader at TradeBoss. Why am I going to keep talking? You all want to hear from the man himself, the institution inside the institution of the New York Stock Exchange. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
So I always think about you here when we have days like this, because if we close at session lows, we know that can sometimes mean a gap down for the next morning.
The next day.
But we didn't quite close at session lows.
No, we did
today.
not.
Did you see
And one
this
of the
afternoon?
contributing factors was literally in the last minute we got a $2.5 billion buy program. So that kind of felt like we didn't have it all day, right? It was for sale most of the day. And that contributed to a little bit of the follow through on the downside after we had bounced back. But that $2 billion, for me, that's sort of, look, we've had the first sell-off last Thursday, right? That sort of came from a number of different factors, right? It was sort of, we had a nice bounce back once they announced that the government was going to reopen. Then they started coming up with this story that AI is a bubble and that it's all smoke and mirrors, which is just insanity in my book. Because you think about it, the Metas, the Googles, the Oracles, the Microsofts have each put in $600 billion into the infrastructure that's 5 years away, but it doesn't suddenly appear 5 years from now. It has to be built up. So that's kind of silly. And then to think that, they love to catastrophize these stories, like, the fact that Palantir came out with blowout earnings and it went down 8%. They need to understand that there are lots of different players in the game. And in the old days, buy the rumor, sell the news. It ramped up into the earnings release. And then you're going to have profit taking. There are a lot of factors here. We had some sort of surety that December was going to be a rate cut, and now, just to use that term, Jay Powell said that there was no surety about December. That kind of spooked the market. Then a lot of the funds and people like to close out their books that are super solid, up double digits for the year. At the end of October, maybe the first week in November. So you're starting to see profit taking. You're starting to see people realize that there's more chance of uncertainty coming into the end of the year. And why not lock in some of the profits they have for the year? That's contributing to that sell-off. So to think that just because Palantir had blowout earnings and that's the high it's going to be and that it's all, an illusion, seems a little bit irrational to me. It's not really taking into account a lot of really the important things that are going on.
I know you don't track individual stocks all that closely, but to your point about Palantir, NVIDIA is arguably the most important percent, almost
Correct.
10% of the entire S&P 500.
9 to be exact.
Nine,
yes.
Hinging on Wednesday afternoon's earnings. Oftentimes as NVIDIA goes, so too go the broader markets.
Yes.
Are we putting too much weight in NVIDIA trying to do the heavy lifting to save us from a lot of the
So
red
look,
tide?
that's what everybody's fear is, that NVIDIA is going to come out with great earnings and that the market's going to respond respond accordingly. One of the other things that a lot of the bigger guys are looking at too is a lot of these companies that are not in the AI sector that are committing huge amounts of capital to it are taking on debt that a lot of the investors feel they're taking on unnecessary debt. Why are we getting involved in this? Even though the CEO of SoftBank, right, NVIDIA at a $200 value, $200 price tag, right, which is that's post 10-for-1 split. SoftBank CEO feels they're still undervalued with what the capex expenditure is in that space going forward. So the fact that they're, creating this scenario that AI is anything short of spectacular, that it's had a good run, and that maybe people are getting out of their high flyers and they're rotating. Because if you look at the advance versus declines, one of those things that you and I often talk about, which is in the sort of the nuance of the market, you're not seeing big selling without buying, right? You're seeing rotation. And when you see rotation, that means people are taking profits in some and putting it into things that are may have more value. I mean, is it true that, they may not, if they hit on every piston, what is it going to take for them to go higher? Well, I don't know, but why are you going to take that chance with all the uncertainty over the next 6 weeks? November's a super robust month, but September and October were the weaker ones. They were robust. Maybe some of that's going to roll over into November. There's going to be some seasonality in November. Yeah. But think about all the uncertainty around they're not even releasing the numbers, right? So there's a lot of pieces of this puzzle that are missing. And with missing pieces of a puzzle, lead uncertainty, lead anxiety. 2 days of 12.5% up in the VIX shows that people are having fear. Take profits, take your ball and leave the playground.
Yeah, we do the VIX back up to 22. That's all the time we have, but we do have those earnings later in the week. We'll chat with you again for NVIDIA, Walmart, the strength of the consumer. Yep. You worked hard today. Take the rest of the day off. You earned it, my man. Thank you for being here. Peter Tuchman, as always. Joshua, grab your mic. Thanks, Howie, you and I are going to head for a walk, and we're going to head this way. This is the the time of the part of the show where I try not to walk into people behind me. We'll take a look at the latest event contract, Polymarket odds for the question ahead of Monday Night Football tonight, of course. Who will win the Super Bowl, at least in the eyes of Polymarket participants, after Jay Woods' Philadelphia Eagles had a big win at home at the Link last night? The Eagles, 14% odds. I know I certainly don't, Fernando. The Rams, 12%. The Buffalo Bills, 10% odds to win the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs here, after losing, they're only 5-5, down to 9% odds. More than $500 million in total trade volume on that particular event contract up on Polymarket right now. However, we'll take a look at two NYSE notables on the day. Believe it or not, CVS up 0.7. It's actually one of the better performers in the S&P 500 today. It was part of that big group of corporate and municipal bonds that we heard the President Donald Trump bought last quarter. The stock bouncing off its 50-day moving average today, rather. CVS has an average one-year price target of $91 a share. That suggests upside potential of another 15%. And finally, Howard, we'll take a look here. We love to cover this stock, ticker symbol LUV. Unfortunately, investors didn't love what they saw out of it today. It is down almost 3%. Year to date, all of the major airlines significantly underperforming the S&P 500 by a lot. Year to date, the stock is down over 6% with an average one-year price target of $33, another upside potential of 4% off of these current levels. Folks, don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock live from the iconic trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange comes up right after this.
I'm here with Tamir Nabil, who is the Vice Chairman of Nations of Sky, and we're going to talk about the Jerian City project. Tamir, tell us all about the project, what's going on with Jerian City project. I'll get it right there.
Yes, Jerian City located outside of Cairo at the west, strategically located, 15 minutes away from Sphinx Airport, 10 minutes away from the Grand Egyptian Museum, and 15 minutes away from the high-speed railway. So it is strategically located. It's a strategic location outside Cairo. It is 30,000 units, residential units, plus the non-residential component, hospitality, medical facilities, educational facilities, and so on and so forth.
So we'd put this in the mega project category,
Yes,
I'd say.
yes. Focusing, of course, on the River Nile and the water body component, which we have moved the River Nile all the way from Rashid Isle into the west of Cairo. And it is reuse of the River Nile again in the heart of West Cairo.
Well, so fascinating because the River Nile is so important to Egypt and so many parts of the world from its historic perspective and the life that's given and come from the Nile. So this seems like it's really extending that life of the Nile to other areas.
Of course, Vince, it is like extending the life of the Nile and the emotion of the Egyptians. Egyptians are emotionally connected to the River Nile historically from the pharaohs era.
Yeah.
They were living beside the Nile, using the River Nile to eat and move from one way from one location to another location. So we are reusing the emotion of the Egyptians and their connection to the River Nile and reintroduce it through Gerians.
So talk to me a little bit more about it, Tamir. Something like this has never been done before.
Yes.
Size, scope, and really, I think I'll put in the category of reclaiming some of the Nile and now using that for irrigation and making other grounds more fertile for agriculture.
Yes, yes. Gerian City is part of a bigger project, national project called Future of Egypt, which is using our irrigating 2.2 million acres inside
Wow.
the desert. So Gerian is just beside this mega project.
So I guess extending that, I don't know what that means. You started talked about 6 different lifts from an infrastructure standpoint.
Yes,
Could you
yes.
describe that a little bit?
Yes, moving the water of the River Nile from Rashid Isle, just right before dropping down into the Mediterranean and lifting it through 6 lift stations into the west of Cairo. It is lifting around 10 million square meter of water daily in order to irrigate the agricultural products.
Great. So we have about a minute left, Tim, here. Talk to me a little bit. What's your greatest hope for the project and what it does for the community, for the country, and perhaps as a foundation, as inspiration for other projects like this?
It is a mega project, Vince. It is from people perspective, it is providing uh, 250,000 opportunity for to work inside the project. It is providing around 30,000 residential units. So 30,000 residential family will be moving to this. Besides, of course, it is containing a free special economic zone, which will be a magnet for the investor from all over the Arab region to come and invest in using the facilities will be provided in this area.
Outstanding, Tamir.
Welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching Taking Stock live from the New York Stock Exchange. Time now at this hour to bring you the latest headlines in the world of fintech, crypto, and artificial intelligence you need for your Monday. First up, man, oh man, the crypto majors, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, continued to get throttled on the day. Bitcoin hitting a 6-month low, falling below 92,000 earlier today for the first time since April 22nd. This follows a week in which global crypto investment products posted their sharpest weekly exit since February with $2 billion in outflows. My goodness. However, global regulatory momentum does continue. This is Japan's financial services agency weighs their own Genius Act-like crypto legislation. That's the latest you need to know in the world of fintech, crypto, and AI. And now at this point of the broadcast, Money 2020's very own Scarlett Sieber explains the difference between APR and APY. Have a look.
Welcome back. I'm Scarlett Sieber from Money 2020, and on this week's edition of Jargon Translator, we're going to be tackling a pair of acronyms that sound like they could be cousins, but are actually financial frenemies. APY versus APR. Most of you have heard these terms before, but let's just break them down because I still get questioned on this a lot. Let's set the scene. You're opening a savings account and the bank's like, earn 5% APY. Then you're applying for a credit card and it's like only 22.9999% APR. And you're sitting there like, wait, are these the same thing? Is one of them lying? Is this a trap? Why are the numbers so high and why are there so many different numbers? Let's break it down. APR, annual percentage rate. This is what you pay when you borrow money. Think credit cards, loans, mortgages. It's the sticker price of your debt. But here is the catch on APRs. They do not include compounding interest. So if you carry a balance, you're actually paying more than the APR suggests. It's like when a menu says $15 burger but doesn't mention the $5 fries and the $4 tip. APR is the base rate, not the full story. APY, on the other hand, the annual percentage yield, this is what you earn when you save or invest. Think high yield saving accounts or CDs. And unlike APR, APY does include compounding. So if your money is making money and that money is also making money, that's APY doing its thing. It's like interest with a hustle mindset. Or like your savings account is on that girl math energy where you turn $5 into $5.12 and you call that passive income. Here's the kicker. Banks love to show you APR when you're borrowing because it makes it look cheaper than it actually is. And they love to show you APY when you're saving because it makes it look juicier. It's really all about the optics here, baby. So next time you see a shiny percentage, ask yourself, is this what I'm earning? Is this the full story? Or is it what I'm paying? Is this compounding or not? Because in finance, the devil's not in the details. It's in the decimals. Until next time, that's your jargon translated. Back over to you.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Today we bring you the latest in the worlds of startups, raises, and rounds at this hour. First up, Jeff Bezos stepping back into day-to-day leadership, this time as co-CEO of Project Prometheus. It's a $6.2 billion backed AI startup. Next up, electric truck startup Harbinger raising $160 million in Series C funding, co-led by FedEx, which also ordered 53 trucks as the company pushes to electrify its delivery fleet. And finally, Japanese self-driving startup Turing raising $99 million from investors. Those names include Denso, quadrupling its valuation to $388 million. All right, time now on the show for our next guest. Let's chat with Natalie Brunell. She is the host of the Coin Stories podcast, also author of the new book, Bitcoin is for Everyone. Wait, remind me, is the book out yet or not just yet?
Tomorrow, November 18th. You can pre-order it, though.
Here we go. You can pre-order it today. It's available tomorrow. Congratulations. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's my first time at the New York Stock Exchange.
Well,
I'm with the suits.
Amazing. Welcome to the exchange and welcome to being on the show. I got to get your take here on general price action for Bitcoin because we covered it on the show Friday and we said, oh my goodness, falling below 95. That selling pressure has continued since Friday's session. What are you seeing for the Bitcoin headlines?
25% to 30% of a pullback is nothing for Bitcoin. If you've been in it as long as me, I got in 2017. I've wrote it down, I've wrote it back up. I'm going to quote Michael Saylor, who was on your show recently, right? Volatility is vitality. You can't have that nice upside volatility if you don't get some of the downside too.
You say Bitcoin is for everyone. You got a lot of people out there, Natalie, they've seen the headlines. Maybe they've got some FOMO and they think, I've always missed it. It's already off and running. It's too late for me to consider this for my own investment as a vehicle. What do you say to people who want to learn more about the Bitcoin space?
It is not too late. That's what my book is all about. It's really about empowering people to understand Bitcoin and empower themselves economically. It is the best savings technology and the most accessible form of capital for the average person. The book really talks about how Bitcoin impacts the average person and how they can experience it and have something meaningful in terms of their lives, being able to plan and save for their futures. Because today, it is hard to save. People are living paycheck to paycheck. We're getting told we're going to have 50-year mortgages. People need a way to empower themselves and a way that they can actually save their money in the best performing asset. It's a $2 trillion asset class. I think we even dipped below that recently, and we're competing with hundreds of trillions of dollars out there in equities and bonds and real estate. And as Bitcoin chips into that, I think it's the greatest asymmetric opportunity, because I do think it's going to be a $100 trillion asset class someday.
Wow, and Bitcoin's also chipping more and more into the institutional
Yes.
lane, because we're seeing the big institutional players who once upon a time said, no thank you, not for us.
Yeah.
They've really changed their tune. What have you made about the institutional dollars that are really now supporting and taking Bitcoin as an asset class a lot more seriously?
It was inevitable, right? I mean, the price performance speaks for itself. It has 30 to 50% ARR. We recently just learned that Harvard's largest equity holding is IBIT, the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. But the message is also, institutions, it's great that they're getting in, but I want the average person to have a chance to accumulate as well. It is going up every single year despite the volatility, and I want the average person to embrace it, because it's not just for institutions, it is truly for everyone. That's why the book is titled Bitcoin is for Everyone.
Where do you most recommend someone begins if he or she wants to become a smarter potential Bitcoin investor? Where do they begin their education?
Well, start small. Again, anyone can learn this. I am not a computer programmer by background. I don't have my MBA like a lot of people here at the stock exchange. I was able to study this and learn it and embrace it. Just start small. Start investing small so that you get comfortable, and start with a book, a documentary, a podcast. There's so many resources out there that are usually free or they don't cost very much, and you can start your Bitcoin journey as well.
The book is on sale tomorrow. Where can people go if they want to find out more?
You can head to any bookstore, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can also head to my website, talkingbitcoin.com, and check out my podcast. I am here to educate the public on hard money and why Bitcoin is the best savings technology.
Congratulations on the awesome book. Can't wait to read it. Thanks a lot for being here, both at the New York Stock Exchange for the first time and for being on the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock live from the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange is coming up after this quick break.
Welcome back to Market Movers, the opening bell. Well, Cityscape Global is one of the world's most significant and influential real estate events. Cityscape brings together professionals, investors, developers, and stakeholders in urban development and real estate. Now, doors opened for the 4-day conference earlier today and over at the Riyadh Exhibition and Convention Center in Saudi Arabia. Well, FinTech CEO and founder Vince Molinari is live at Cityscape Global 2025. Hi, Vince. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you. So first, now that the conference has kicked off, give us your overview and what's happening on the ground.
Hey, Remy. Well, great to be with you. And my goodness, so much energy here. I have to tell you, Cityscape 2025 is like nothing that I've been to before. 170,000 people, over 500 speakers, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 different venues combined to host all of this. And it's just really reflective of what's happening here in country in Saudi Arabia with the opportunity to invest in real estate and the growth that's occurring.
Yeah, and Vince, we're so glad that you're joining us today and telling us what's happening on the ground. Saudi Arabia has made a series of regulatory as well as business reforms to make the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia more competitive. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, right on point, Remy. And I think the most important that's changed the game here is the allowing of non-Saudi people and companies to invest in real estate. That just happened this July, and it's really opened, I think, the floodgates of opportunity for foreign investors to come in country. And that's really all been part of the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia to open up the country to foreign investment and also to diversify, to move a bit away from oil, petroleum-based economy. So really massive opportunity shaping up.
Yeah, and then speaking of opportunities, tell us which sectors or mega projects are getting the most attention from global buyers.
Yeah, there's a couple I'll reference. The Red Sea project is really, and I'll use the word massive, project across luxury resorts, high-end tourism, hotels, marinas, really moving it along that pathway. And you have Idia, which is, again, another huge development all around entertainment, sports, culture, and the arts, really defining as a leisure destination. Again, that's part of the Vision 2030, where they're really looking to move the country and for foreign tourism as well as residents to have leisure opportunities.
And Vince, I understand that technology as well as smart cities are big topics on the agenda. So give us an understanding of what they're talking about right now.
Yeah, well, I think you look at NEOM, which is a smart city project. And again, I'll use that word massive, huge in size and scale, over 26,000. That's 26,000 square kilometers. And that's all about smart city, everything that encompasses Internet of Things, advanced mobility, renewable energy, sustainability, all creating this new framework for the next urban city.
Well, Vince, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule today. We'll check back with you tomorrow. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Remy. Look forward to it.
Welcome back to the show. With the remaining moment or so, we'll get you quickly caught up on not just what happened here on Wall Street tomorrow, but as well as what to expect here on Wall Street. Earlier today, the S&P 500 down 0.9%, the Dow down 1.1%, the NYSE Composite Index also down 1.2%, while the small caps down 1.96% to kick off the trading week here on Wall Street. Tomorrow morning, we'll hear earnings from names like Amer Sports and Home Depot. Home Depot, we're expecting earnings per share $3.83 and revenue for $41 billion. That stock is down 10% since the last time it reported quarterly results. Amer Sports, we're expecting EPS of 25 cents a share. That stock is down 12% since the last time they reported quarterly earnings and is trading underneath its 200-day moving average. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., NYSE TV Live and FinTech TV Live, both down here from the iconic trading floor, set to count you down to the open. That's going to do it for everyone here on Taking Stock. Have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.